Happy Monday, and welcome here to another edition of Husker Online Headlines. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple will be with you here again for 3 shows this week. Now, Sip is going to be on his annual NBA grandkids trip, so this will be the only time you get to interact with Sip all week is on Monday.
That's right.
You're going to be off to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I guess I'll be back on Friday.
Well,
night.
That's going to be fun.
Oh, I can't wait. I actually can't wait. It's super fun. I know you don't care about the NBA. The Cavaliers have only lost 4 games. They're playing Oklahoma City. In fact, these are maybe the favorites to meet in the NBA Finals. Tickets are expensive. We got ours months ago, though, so not that expensive.
That's going to be fun. Now, you do this every year.
Yes.
And you went to Memphis last year, right?
Yeah, kids didn't want to go back to Memphis.
It's a very nice city.
They felt unsafe. They didn't want to go back. I wanted to go back. I was a pretty heavy lean towards Memphis. I like that area. I like Beale Street. And by the way, the arena is like right off of Beale Street. So I like that setup, but they didn't want to go back.
Yeah, it was interesting. And Nebraska fans experienced Memphis for NCAA tournament last year.
It was great. I got a double shot of Memphis.
But we'll get into Nebraska basketball here later in the show. But let's get into it. Headline number 1: Dana Holgorsen identifies January as a key month for Nebraska's offensive coaches. And the coaches right now, for the most part, everywhere are at the AFCA convention. That's going to go through Wednesday.
Where's that at this year?
It's in Charlotte.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, we've had terrible travel. I've had bad luck with Charlotte traveling over the years.
Yeah. Okay. So they're in Charlotte, but no, January, why is it important? Because this is when he identified this month as the month he begins to drill down on what direction they're going to take the offense. So that's why it's important to him. He said he'd basically lock himself in a room. I didn't say it that way, but there'll be heavy meetings with staff, and this is remember, Sean, he didn't take this job. He wasn't named the play caller till November 11th. He came in, I believe, on November 4th or 5th, whatever the Monday was after the UCLA game. So it's been such a whirlwind, and you wonder, so what's the Holgorsen offense going to look like? Well, if you were a fly on the wall in those meetings, you would know.
Well, and you've got a little bit of new coaching blood. Obviously, Dykeel Shorts, Marcus Satterfield in his new role as just primary tight ends coach, but a lot of new faces and pieces that you're going to have to work into this team at the receiver position, on the offensive line, a retooled tight end room without Thomas Fidone now, without Nate Borkacher, and you're going to be building this thing around Heinrich Harburg.
Yep.
And what you have in that room. So there's a lot there that they have to put together, but the key is they have the quarterback, Dylan Raiola.
Yes. And Holgorsen, so I don't know. We get into this, talk about scheme. We'll get to Raiola in a second. I don't know what the scheme's going to look like. What Holgorsen says is he's personnel driven. So meaning he's going to find ways to get the ball to the best playmakers. So who are the best playmakers? I mean, I would imagine Dane Key.
Isaiah Hunter.
Yeah. Ja'Cory Barney. Hardly Gilmore. To a certain extent, I guess, Emmett Johnson. Where does
Harburg?
Heinrich, yeah, where does Heinrich? I see. I would love to just infiltrate that meeting room somehow, like put a bug in there, and listen to what are they saying about Heinrich? What are they saying about Carter Nelson?
That'd be cool to do, but then we'd lose all of our access forever.
Maybe you just have someone do it for you. You're not connected to it,
and just get the tapes third hand.
Yeah.
Coach Rule, we got these from two people that got them before us.
Well, just tell me it wouldn't be really interesting being in those meetings.
I mean, somebody bugged the Lincoln North Star Bo Pelini meeting.
Exactly. So this is it, though. Holgorsen identified this month. I'm not saying it's already started, Maybe it has. I don't know what those guys' work hours are like in January, but he said January is when we're going to start really delving into it.
Well, they're on the road recruiting, Sip. Now, Holgerson's not on the road. That's key to note right now. He's not one of the designated 10. John Butler is. Dykeel Shorts is on the road, as far as some of the new additions that have been made. So it's kind of hard for these coaches to do a whole lot of meeting because they are out and about, particularly Matt Rule. And this is a dead period till Thursday this week.
Because
the coaches convention. They essentially make those 3 days of the AFCA a dead period.
Do all the coaches go?
Well, I think you try to go for at least a day, and Nebraska will pay for you to go.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's kind of professional development and part of the deal. And I think, if you didn't pay, okay, first of all, even these coaches make a lot of money. If you weren't paying for them to go, how many would go? Probably not many. And so the university pays for the coaches, and even like support staff goes. And, it's a good getaway to get away. But then there's people out at those events that are job hunting too. And
100%. A lot of it's that. Charlotte, I mean, I went to the AFCA convention in New Orleans back in the day, and that was, when Frank was retooling his staff, and that was fun. But going to Charlotte,
I spent a lot of time in Charlotte one summer. We did football camps.
How was that?
And I mean, I bet I lived in Charlotte for almost a month.
Jeez.
I mean, between in and out, we worked for Mike Minner. We ran these combines and camps around the country, and we were 22 years old. So, and we had per diem money.
Oh, that's good.
And so we had a lot of fun in Charlotte.
Now, as far as this offense goes, let's talk ball here.
Yeah, we got off the tracks.
Like I said, we probably won't have a better idea of this until spring ball, right? When that's what I really want to know is what's it going to look like under Holgorsen. I will tell you why I want to know. I can't think of a bigger reason why I feel more optimistic about Nebraska in 2025 than Holgorsen and Raiola.
Especially if he can get him to get the ball out of his hands quick. Because good things happen when Dylan gets rid of the ball quick. It means he sees it.
That you could almost say about any quarterback.
Right. I mean, like I was listening to Rick Neueisen when we talked about this Friday with Joe Burrow. He gets rid of the ball like in 2.1 seconds on every throw. You can't get to a quarterback and that means they're reading the field properly. But when you hold the ball and kind of dance around, there's only a few in the world that can do that well. And one of them's name's Mahomes.
Right. And it's incumbent on receivers to get open too. I think Nebraska had some issues with that. But I mean, this pairing of Holgorsen and Dylan Raiola, I mean, it's exciting, right? I mean, it goes without saying that's important, but I think it could be very exciting. And now, especially Sean, with these additions of these receivers, I mean, do you just kind of, I've never asked you this question. Are Dane Key and Isaiah Hunter starters?
Well, they were the leading receivers for two other Power 4 programs. So I have a hard time not thinking they're starters.
Me too. Okay.
I think they are better versions of what you had this year from the transfer portal.
We're 100% in agreement on
Dane
that.
Key's a better version of Jamal Banks, and Isaiah Hunter is going to be a better version of Isaiah Nayor. That's how you have to almost look at it.
I wish I could disagree, but I can't. Then who's the third starter? Does it depend?
So those are your outside receivers. Then Ja'Cory Barney and Cortez Mills are in the slot type roles.
How about Isaiah Mosey? You have a chance there?
Harley Gilmore.
Hardly Gilmore. See what we're getting at here?
You play 6. I mean,
they got some dudes.
But you try to get 6. And, I'll never, we didn't really see that at Nebraska till Callahan got here. And I'll never forget Jay Norvell, his quote in 2004 was like, we try to get a top 6. And that was the first time I could ever remember Nebraska, when they played offense, did something like that, where you had to identify 6 receivers. And that's the model you follow. You try to get at least 6 guys that you can rotate in a game. And that's what Nebraska did, for most of the season.
And then you have guys like Demetrius Bell that flashed in the spring in a big way. I mean, Demetrius Bell if he comes back from his knees, has to be a factor. Quinn Clark has to be a factor in this discussion. Keelan Smith has to be a factor. You even go, I mean, don't like I keep saying Mosey. You can't sleep on Isaiah Mosey.
Well, where does Janiron Bonner factor in?
Great question.
Like, can he be
H-back?
more of a Swiss Army knife?
Yeah.
That's what he is.
Well, Holgerson, if you listen to Holgerson in his Pinstripe Bowl press conference, he talked about Bonner that way. Like Bonner's an H-back, kind of move him around guy, right? He's kind of a tight end and kind of a receiver. I think with Carter Nelson, they're trying just to make him a tight end.
And Jonah Wilson will probably be here too. And we'll get
Jonah Wilson.
We'll get on that. Let's get to the next headline here because I want to hit on the portal haul of where they're at right now.
Hello.
But before we get to headline number 2, HuskerOnline Headlines is brought to you by Zenlinez. And if you're not familiar with Zenlinez, it's a really unique company that operates for a great cause to raise awareness for teens' mental health. And what they do is they work with some of the top shoe designers with all the major brands, and they come up with unique brands and designs of shoes where the proceeds from these shoes go to help support teen mental health. Check them out on their website. Visit Zenlinez. It's Zenlinez.com. That's Zenlinez.com to explore their collection and join them in making a difference one step at a time. Walk with a purpose at Zenlinez. Thank you again to Zenlinez. I think Sipple has his eyes on some of those Chuck Taylors.
The high tops. I do like those high tops.
Did you ever wear a pair of Chucks?
I'm not 80 years old.
So
I'm 50.
You played high school basketball in the early 80s.
I wore Adidas.
Adidas was okay.
But Chuck Taylors were cool. But I did not play in Chuck Taylors. That was before my time.
Obviously Nike was the big one growing up for me. But Reebok had with the pumps, that was big. But Allen Iverson had like a line of shoes.
Reebok
that were really popular shoes. But there was a little era with Fila. Do you remember the brand Fila?
Yeah.
And Grant Hill and Jamal Mashburn had Fila shoes.
Did they really?
Yeah, and they were good shoes. I mean, I had them. They had, there was and one.
Yeah.
Stephon Marbury was kind of the and one guy.
Yeah. There's, New Balance had basketball shoe too. They did.
Who was their spokesperson?
I don't know.
That goes back to our 90s. Like I felt like in the 90s, every basketball player like publicly repped a shoe. It was kind of like crazy. Like you'd see shoe commercials like all the time.
Yeah, Larry Bird was a Converse. I don't know who that Adidas. Adidas came out with a brand that was really popular, red, white, and it was red, white, and blue. I had those, but sometimes I'd switch and steal my brother's shoes and wear those for some reason.
But Zenlinez, those are some good shoes.
Yeah, those are for a good cause too. So,
all right, well, thank you to Zenlinez, and you're supporting a great cause again, teen mental health. But let's get into headline number 2, Sip. And I stopped you on Jonah Wilson. I want to grade Nebraska's transfer portal haul. What else is needed? And let's start at that because we know of at least potentially 2 more plus type players and situations to watch. Jonah Wilson, the wide receiver from Houston, who we fully expect, and I wrote this today, to be a part of the program. The reason why Nebraska has not announced him as a signee is I believe he'll come in as a walk-on. There's still, it's kind of funny to say this, but they're still kind of constrained by that 105 limit. Or sorry, the 85 limit.
85 scholarship.
Because the 105 thing doesn't start until July. So, there is kind of a numbers crunch overall, how they might have to add a player.
But he's not he's not coming in as a traditional walk-on.
No.
Right.
I mean, he's coming in. He'll be he'll have full NIL payment, and then he'll go on the 105 is my guess, is how it will play out with him.
There he is right there, Jonah
So
Wilson.
Jonah Wilson, and he's a Dana Holgerson highly ranked recruit that, redshirted his first year at Houston, played a little bit this year. 9
catches, 54 yards.
But a big body. And that 6'1", 190 is not correct. He's over 6'3".
Yeah, he's bigger.
He's way bigger than 6. I don't know how we have him on there, but
205 is what I've seen. 6'3", 205.
Yeah, big bodied receiver that they're bringing in. But the offensive line, Sip, that they want at least one more piece. Shaez Pete, from New Mexico State continues to be the coveted piece that Nebraska, Michigan, Kentucky, Stanford, and even Vanderbilt are all teams being mentioned for Shy Pete.
Nebraska wants him bad. He's okay. So we're doing this on Monday. What time is it? Almost noon. Holding pattern. Shy Pete's in a holding pattern. He's not, he's not particularly verbal. He's not out there doing interviews or anything like that. Hard to get a hold of for a lot of people. So you don't know. We don't know what's going through his mind. There's all kinds of different theories on what's going on with Shy Pete. But I'll tell you this, he's a day one left tackle starter. That's what he is. He's starting at left tackle on day one.
So then Elijah
Pritchard. Oh, God, I
did
did it again. That's not fair to Gunner.
What about Elijah Pritchard? Is he your right for?
That's what I think.
He played right for Alabama, so that makes sense.
So Gunner Gatula started 9 games, left tackle.
For the injured Turner Corcoran, who also returns.
Yeah, so, Teddy Prohaska. So I'm just handing guys jobs, but I'm just handing Shy Pete that job. That's just what I hear. You'd be paying him $1 million plus. You're not really paying him $1 million plus to come in and back up anybody. Right?
I will say though, the protection was good this year for the line. They did a good job.
They did. The line had a pretty good.
I do think though, Raiola's he's not a runner, as you know, so teams don't load up and bring heat at him as much as we saw like when Heinrich Harburg was a starter. You didn't really respect his passing, so you just brought heat at him. Where Raiola got a lot of 4-man rush.
Oh, yeah.
People blitzed him, though. But I think when the line sees a 4-man rush, you're blocking 5 on 4. You should be able to win. And sometimes 6 on 4 when the running back's involved.
I just want to go back to Shy Pete. He's gigantic in this.
6'8", 320?
Yeah, I mean gigantic. He would be a gigantic. Yeah, he's gigantic, literally and figuratively. He would be, okay, can I sell you this? If Nebraska would get him, he would be their most important portal piece. That's what the way I view it.
I know just the people that saw him in person were like, whoa, like just
unicorn.
No, Isaiah World was that way too when he came here.
Yeah.
Same type of deal.
Yep.
But yeah, let's get into so right now.
Hold on, Shy Pete and Elijah Pritchett. Now they're not, but you say you don't think they're done.
Well, I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday is going to be interesting to watch because there's a window to bring in some visitors before classes start for second semester. So if they miss out on Pete, or even if they don't miss out on Pete, could they scramble to add another offensive lineman visitor? How
about an interior guy?
Well, that's what we'll be watching. I mean, and I'm not going to give up our names, but I do think, that's something to watch what they'll do on the offensive line. Cause I do think they could bring in another name this week. They're full though. I mean, they're at numbers. They're full and they've spent a lot of money. I mean, 2 things to note.
Yeah. So let's nail this down. They're not bringing in 3 more guys, 2 maybe.
Well,
right?
And we're counting Jonah Wilson in the boat. Yeah. So it would be the dream scenario would be Shy Pete and maybe one more.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We're aligned.
I think we'll see where that goes. But in general, yeah, another interesting thing about this portal group is still to me is that they have 4 defensive backs coming in. 4.
Justin Rhett, Jameer Khan, and
Andrew Marshall. And then the latest addition they just picked up.
Hyphenation.
Yeah. Marquise. Why am I blanking on his name here? Sorry. Let me go to the front page.
I blew it.
Killebrew.
Yeah.
Groves Killebrew. Marquise Groves Killebrew.
Groves Killebrew
is the 4th. And I think there's a lot of different takes on why they're doing this. But what I've been told is they want competition. They want dudes. And, we assume now Deshaun Singleton is coming back. And then you have Sierra Wright coming back. So technically there's 4 starting level players returning with Malcolm Hartstug and Marquise Buford. But did those guys have elite seasons? That's what you got to ask yourself. And are they going to bring in some guys to kind of push those players to see where it goes?
Nebraska slid to 65th nationally in pass defense. Okay. Now that's all defense discussion. I mean, that's not just secondary, but A lot's on the secondary. And you hear a lot of talk that's accurate. They played really soft coverage a lot of the time, right? There's a lot of soft coverage. Guys just got beat too. You just saw guys
The
get
50-50 balls were not 50-50.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there are a lot of 80-20s that should be 50-50s.
So I think they've identified that as an area where we got to get better. 65th pass defense, that's not championship. You can win a championship with the 65th rated pass defense, but it's hard. It'd be harder to do, obviously.
Yeah, just think about the back-breaking third downs at Indiana. Tommy Hill, it's 14-7.
Don't get me started.
You're 3rd and 8, and Tommy Hill is on an island with more of a cushion, and he gives up a big play, and then Indiana goes on and just blow the doors off. But Nebraska was going to get the ball back in a 14-7 game. That's a situational.
Too many.
And then the UCLA game with Jeremiah Charles out there on those early third downs.
Just it wasn't Charles' fault.
But they had him out there for his first real playing time because Tommy Hill had his issues.
But it wasn't like they started shutting UCLA down when Charles went off the field.
And there were multiple 3rd and longs and they were 50-50 at best situations.
I've referenced this. You were angry. You were angry in the press box.
Because it was they got UCLA had like 4 third down conversions on the first couple, big ones.
I know. Trust me, I remember.
And I'm like, God, Nebraska, because at that point, losing that game, you're like, they're not going to a bowl now.
See, if we just listen, I always tell people, listen to yourself. We're answering the question of why they brought in 4 DBs.
And why they
We're answering the question.
And why they made a switch at offensive coordinator and
why defensive coordinator.
And why they've made it, why things switched up there, because that UCLA game changed everything.
Well, no, I want to make something.
Tony White wasn't pushed out.
Right. Right. I don't think he was, right?
But was it a health? The question is, was it a health? I mean, was it healthy at that point?
You wonder.
And you just don't really know going into that bye week, how healthy were the discussions? Because at that point after UCLA, the thought of not making a bowl was real.
It was a crushing loss
because they had to beat Wisconsin, who they'd only had beaten one time in the history of the Big Ten before this year.
Oh, I guarantee it wasn't fun in the offices.
That Wisconsin game was bigger than you could put in perspective when you think about it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Huge win.
But that
huge win.
This team, as we talked about, got 6-6.
And they got 7-6.
7-6 final record, but they had more potential to be better than that. And that, after the bowl game, I was told that Bill O'Brien said to Nebraska, he's like, your 2 guys, Hutmacher and Robinson, were unreal. He's like, we couldn't do anything. Like, really? They completely took us out. Like, remember that bet I made on my prediction about the 100-yard? I mean, Boston College was a team that always went for like 150 to 200 rushing every game.
What'd they get?
Nowhere near 100.
You won that bet?
Yes. I mean,
damn it. Yeah. I mean, those are big losses.
But you think about
those are huge losses.
They made that defense against the run look so much better.
See, the question is, I surely don't see a Ty Robinson out coming back. I mean, Van Poppel, you hope is a reasonable facsimile. Like Keona Davis is not that type of player. Judy's not that type of player. I'm just talking in terms of size and impact. They're just, that's going to be hard.
5th and 6th year defensive linemen.
Yeah.
Don't grow on trees.
No, they don't. Now, Keona Davis in his 5th year might be a monster.
It takes 5 or 6 years to grow a tree.
Right. Right. Yes. So
they come to you as little sticks and then they grow. I mean, it takes a while. Like
100.
Ty Robinson.
No, he wasn't a big time player as a sophomore.
Hey, Ty Robinson could have played on almost any era of Nebraska football team and been a good player.
Yep.
He just happened to be on a team, obviously teams that weren't great, but Nash and Ty were good enough to play on any era of team at Nebraska.
Yep.
Obviously.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Ty. So, I mean, that's hard to replace. We'll see what happens.
All right. Before we take it, headline number 3, Husker Online headlines brought to you by Crani-Yum energy drink. I am drinking one right now.
You went for the Dr. Cherry?
I am drinking Dr. Yum, which is like a cherry Dr. Pepper, but had some users over the weekend message me that they went to Hy-Vee and bought some of these and have enjoyed them. So you can order on their website, and we've got a deal for that. But any Hy-Vee in eastern Nebraska and their health markets carries the Crani-Yum, all 3 flavors. I was actually in the Williamsburg Hy-Vee and I checked it out. They had them all in there. And give it a try. It's a healthier energy drink. It's made by 2 lifelong Nebraskans and Husker fans based out of Fremont. Crani-Yum, and that's CRANI-Yum, is a unique energy drink with highly dosed nootropics that enhance mental clarity and focus with only 150 milligrams of naturally sourced caffeine, sugar-free, naturally flavored, no artificial colors, making it a healthy alternative to most other energy drinks on the market. Again, you can go to Hy-Vee, get in the health market, or just go to their website. We're going to give you 10% off that order with the promo code HuskerOnline. That's promo code HuskerOnline at Crani-Yum.com. That's CRANI-Yum.com to log on and make your order today. Thanks to Crani-Yum for sponsoring us here on Husker Online Headlines.
Hey, Sean.
Yes.
Quick audible. So what's your grade so far on Nebraska's portal haul? So far,
B+ to A-.
Oh God, this show sucks. We agree on everything. Yeah, I was gonna say B+. If they get Shaez Pete, it moves to an A.
The running back discussion is fluid.
Really interesting
because I think we all agree it's a question, but we don't know what Jamarian Parker is going to bring in. I want to make sure he gets here. I think he's got a class or 2 and some things that had to get ironed out. So I assume he's going to be an early enrollee, but let's wait till see what happens when classes start.
We also don't know about Quentin Ives. We just don't know much about him. We just know that
Nelson.
Right. As far as Ives goes, Rule has talked many times, has expressed a lot of confidence in him. Holgerson, I keep going to this Pinstripe Bowl press conference. Holgerson said, remember when Holgerson said about Ives? He had 9 spectacular practices leading up to the bowl game. Maybe they just feel like we have Emmett Johnson and Quentin Ives. I mean, we should be okay. You need one more or 2.
Well, and think
maybe
about
Makai Nelson. Last
year, Dante Dowdell came on quick because during the spring,
good point.
What we were kind of led to believe from pretty good info people is he had a long ways to go.
Early in spring.
And he was arguably 4th in the pecking order at the spring period. He was behind Gabe Irvin at that point.
When he started to, I
he
think
came on in camp.
Yeah, that's right, in August. And then he made a move. And
then he made a move to Kentucky.
Made a lot of moves into the end zone. He was very valuable inside the field.
All right. Headline 3, though. I want to transition to Portal Watch. Where have the former Huskers landed in the transfer portal? And there's been a couple new ones, Sipple, over the weekend that found some new homes. First of all, Thomas Fedoni is expected to be in the NFL. I know there was some question. Did he go in the portal? Well, he missed the portal window. Reported on our weekly rundown column that he is training in Arizona for the draft. So Thomas Fedoni, expected to be in the draft. Xander Rugolari is going to Arizona State. And that's a Vegas kid that had no real ties to Nebraska. We interviewed him up in this office. I think for him, this is probably going to be a better fit for him. I don't know what went wrong here because I thought he was a promising tackle prospect.
Me too. Great landing spot.
But that's a great spot for him nearby to Vegas. Defensive line. Every defensive lineman for Nebraska that's in the portal has made it somewhere at this point. Jamari Butler, LSU. Vincent Carroll Jackson, Connecticut. Princewell Umanyalan, Ole Miss. James Williams, Florida State. Kai Wallen, Oregon State. And Brody Tagaloa, Sacramento State. So Nebraska's had 6 guys go in from the D line, and all 6 have now landed.
Big bodies are usually good ones, are at a premium. Good for Vincent Carroll Jackson to get close to home. Pennsylvania kid going back to that area, close enough. James Williams, he's a pass rusher. His best days are ahead of him. That'll be interesting to see how he pans out. Hey, Sean, is James Williams a guy that could get Florida State like 9 sacks? think he has that sort of potential.
Yeah, I think he just needs to be able to. It's kind of like being a good third down running back. You got to get yourself ready for first and second down. Can he be a first and second down player? And here's a closer look at
here we go
at all the guys in order. Linebacker Mekhi Bayer and Stephon Thompson, they were early finds. Ishmael Smith-Flores has not landed. Most recently, Dwight Boodle going to go play for another former Husker, Tim Albin at Charlotte. And then Kobe Bretz is going to play for Dan Jackson at South Dakota State. At receiver,
these guys found places.
At receiver, Isaiah McMorris has landed at Missouri State. And I didn't know this.
Missouri State?
Yeah, Missouri State. Did you know that they're going to be in the Conference USA for football?
I did not know that.
So they will be in the Conference USA for football moving forward long term.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Davon Hall not a landing spot yet.
And Naor obviously withdrew and
from the portal.
So we'll see kind of where that goes, but we assume he's going to. I'll be interested if Naor's back here for the draft and the pro day stuff. I would think so.
Back in Lincoln.
I would think. I mean, you don't know though. Like
he didn't play in the bowl game. It wasn't really an option for him to come back. Yeah, but Matt Rule is very, very diplomatic. He's very good to players. He's very loyal. Wouldn't be surprised if Naor goes through pro day here at all.
And then obviously Hall, he mentions the one that hasn't landed. But of that group of receivers, Jalen Lloyd, Oklahoma State they moved on him quickly.
Good fit.
He'll be a good Big 12 receiver.
I would think so. I mean, I think he had 12 catches at Nebraska. Okay, the question is, what's the ceiling? I mean, could he get you 24 catches next year? I'd say so. And I mean, I don't know what the competition in Oklahoma State's like. It's going to be stiff. They'll have good receivers at Oklahoma State.
Well, he's a deep threat for whoever
big
gets
time
him.
speed. Big time speed.
I mean, he'll be one of the fastest receivers in the Big 12.
And if you're one of the fastest receivers in the Big 12, you should be productive if you're doing everything else right.
Now, I'd imagine he'll still keep doing track.
That's the question.
He scores points for a team, so there's a lot of value in his track if he can score you points at the Big 12 meet in the jumps.
God, that's an interesting conversation. It is. That the duo sport guys.
Well, and to be a jumper, you almost have to lose some weight at times because it's hard to launch when you're heavier.
Sure.
So for him, how does he manage his body to do triple and long jump? It's a hard deal.
It's a hard deal. Is it easier to do track and football than baseball and football?
Yeah, you think about Kyrie Cooper.
Oh, I think about him.
And
because remember that moment with Coach Gilmore? Remember Ted Gilmore, the receivers coach, when we used to do those group sessions with coaches, and it was the spring, and we were doing a group session with Ted Gilmore, who's now a high school principal, by the way.
Ted Gilmore's a high school principal?
100.
Okay, that freaks me out.
Yeah, Ted Gilmore, the former Nebraska receivers coach, and we asked him about Kyrie Cooper. Remember what he said? He goes, I don't know. You tell me. He's over there playing baseball. He's not getting better. I know that. I was like, okay, Ted. I think we get the picture.
Yeah, the baseball. Now, Ty Kildow never really played much for football. Then he joined the baseball team. Remember him?
Yeah, I remember Kildow.
He was the fastest football player on the team, and he never got thrown out stealing a base. I mean, he was unbelievably probably one of the best base stealers Nebraska's had.
Never got thrown out?
No.
Damn.
I mean, did you ever watch Ty Kildow run?
I didn't watch a lot of baseball.
They would bring him in when a guy got on first, a pitch run, and he could steal second and third. I mean, he was that, and you knew he was doing it, and they still couldn't get him.
Others.
But yeah, I think we're caught up on all the
Gabe
names.
Irvin. Yeah, we're caught up.
So,
hey, Davon Hall, I'm looking at. Davon Hall's got to land somewhere, doesn't he?
Yeah, nobody really knows.
Big, rangy, fast receiver.
I'm sure this is a tough deal for some of these guys. They went from highly recruited 4-star local guys to, not really knowing what their next move.
We've talked about this. The portal world makes it tough. If you're
real life comes and hits you in the face pretty quick.
Yeah, the NIL world, what it's done for players is kind of teach them lessons. This was their, they like that money, but with that money comes some realities, right? They just recruit right over you, and it's colder. It's a colder world now in college football. I mean, they just, if you're a little slower to develop than you want to be, they'll just go get Dane Key. They'll just go get
Hardly Gilmore.
Yeah. They'll just go get guys over you, and they won't look back. There's a cold reality to all this.
All right. Before we go to headline number 4, Steve Sipple, headline number 4
Don't do this, Sean.
is brought to you by, let's get his notes. Let's get them all set up, ready to go. Are you ready to go?
Our friends at Larson Motors. Where's Larson Motors, Sean?
Lovely Nebraska City. In fact, it was just with one of the guys, Ryan, from Nebraska City, and Larson Motors this weekend.
Were you? Well, Larson Motors is one of the Midwest's only dealerships with all the major brands in one locale. Finding your new Chevrolet, GMC, Hummer, Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram never has been easier. So how about start your new experience today or this week at LarsonMotorGroup.com, LarsonMotorGroup.com, or at Larson Motors in Nebraska City. Larson Motors, real people,
real deals. And I will say January is a good time to buy cars because they're trying to get rid of their 2024 new inventory.
Oh.
And then they make room for the 25s. So you will get money off MSRP at a higher percentage than you normally would in this time of the year.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's probably worth it if you're in the market.
Now, if you want to get a 25, you're going to pay full price. I think that's just how the car business works.
Okay. Good job, Sean.
I've done a lot. We've been involved in the car. For two sports writers, we're pretty involved in the car industry.
You more than I, but yeah. You know a lot about business.
Well, Koppel has been on your station, The Ticket, since day one.
I did not know that.
And I've been they were one of the first sponsors, and I've done the ads for Koppel on The Ticket.
It's interesting. Throughout my career, I've kind of stayed out of the business side of it. I just concentrate on the editorial side. You've because of the nature of your role, you do both. I admire that about you.
All right, let's go to.
They wouldn't let me near the business.
They won't let you near the business. Headline number 4: what to make of Nebraska's no-show at Purdue. And it was one of those games where you kind of knew it was over after the first, I wouldn't even say 5 minutes, like 3 minutes.
You were watching it?
Oh, yeah. Well, then I had to go coach Carly later. So I watched 70% of the game before I put on the beginning of the Broncos game.
I mean, it was kind of a waste of time. That's what I was just sitting there thinking, this is mostly a waste of time for me to be watching this. There's a lot of ways you can take this conversation. They were generally a no-show, although that guy right there that Megan had on the screen, Sam Hoiberg, was not a no-show. Connor Essegian was not a no-show. Generally, the rest of the team was a no-show. It was immensely disappointing to me, this game. And you have a lot of thoughts go through your head as a 58-year-old. Sean, I got into this business not because of Nebraska football. It was more about Nebraska basketball. And I was sitting there on the couch watching it with Triggs. And I was 8 when I started following Nebraska basketball. Sean, that's 50 years. They've not won an NCAA tournament game, okay? I keep waiting and waiting. And I sit in watch these games. I wonder, why is Purdue so much better than Nebraska? Why? They got some tradition, right? Purdue. But is it ever going to happen? Could happen this year, I guess.
I mean, it easily could have happened last year. They just got a really bad first-round draw. I mean, A&M was good. As we saw, they almost should have beat Houston.
They got it, Nebraska.
I mean, they got the worst draw.
A bad draw. There's no doubt about that. Why is it a bad draw, though? Because A&M was so athletic.
Yeah, they were just racehorses. I mean, Nebraska and then they're hitting those like 25-foot threes with their ability to hit the basket.
Yeah. So
deadly.
Yesterday, it was, I mean, the score I remember when I started thinking I'm wasting my time, it was 26-10. And I thought, okay, Purdue has won 25 straight games at home. It's 26-10. You think Nebraska's going to just storm back and beat Purdue? There's no indications that could happen. Purdue hit 19 3-pointers. Nebraska's never allowed 19 3-pointers in a game until Sunday. And I would tell you, Sean, I don't know how closely you're watching, too many open looks for Purdue. Good looks.
In that style of defense Nebraska plays where they like to double down low, it does create a lot of 3-point looks. And we saw against UCLA, they weren't going in. Well, the last 2 games, both Iowa and Purdue have had really hot shooting.
Yes. Well, Purdue finished 19 of 32, I believe is the number.
On the threes?
19 of 33. Yes.
That's insane.
19 of 33.
That's like a good free throw percentage dang near.
For Omaha Grows. For Class B ball.
Hey, there were some teams with Doc Sadler and Tim Miles. You'd take that for a free throw game.
Right. I'm just joking. I mean, Nebraska actually didn't shoot the ball that badly. They finished 48% from the field.
Everything, though, just from my just naked eye view, everything seemed hard.
Oh, yeah.
Like
for sure.
Nothing was easy in terms of shot selection, shot creation. And then everything Purdue got, Nebraska's defenses felt like they were on the run. They just never felt in sync.
For sure. If you were to try to create a nice soft landing spot for Fred and his team, you would just say they caught Purdue. I have to think that's as well as Purdue's played all year. Now, Purdue's gotten really hot in the last 4 or 5 games. They've played really well. And maybe that's maybe Fred would just say, that's as well as they can play. And we caught him at a bad time.
And now they have Rutgers Thursday
Nebraska,
night, 8:00, which students won't be back yet. So that will be an interesting environment. It's a later game. Those are
8:00.
Yeah. For a season ticket holder, I can tell you those are the hardest ones. Nebraska basketball games are very much a family atmosphere. Lots of young kids, families. Well, 8:00 on a school night's hard.
Yeah, that's hard.
Like Mike, I'm at Holy Ghost that night, so I can't even make the game.
So they'll get back to Nebraska has a safe spot,
but they can beat Rutgers.
Well, yeah, and especially at home. I mean, Nebraska's won 20 straight at home. Oh, they can beat Rutgers. If they lose to Rutgers, it'd be a horrifying loss. I mean, they can't lose to Rutgers.
No.
In fact, Nebraska's home schedule wouldn't be
if they won. They have
Iowa.
Be
surprised if they went out.
So here's the thing: as you analyze this season, to me, it's still just about one loss, the Iowa game. That's the one. If they have beaten Iowa, we're feeling a lot different.
100.
Because nobody expected them to win at Michigan State. Nobody ever expected them to win at Purdue. I didn't. But I'm like, the Iowa game was the one. If they would have won that Iowa game, I just feel like everyone's like, okay, we're right where we should be.
Maybe. Although, what about this? Maybe they got blown out twice. That now I guess
blue blood arenas.
Right now, I'm a little more concerned because I was portraying Michigan State as a one-off. I thought, they just a bad game, no big deal. Now there's 2.
At Maryland and at Wisconsin, both those teams have played well. Those will be extremely difficult road games.
Hard.
I'd imagine I wonder if Robin will go out to Wisconsin or not.
Don't you make that call?
Well, if he wants to go.
Hey, there's a lot of tough games. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Sean, do you look at Nebraska more as like, can you get to 10-10
and look at Oregon. You got Oregon on the road.
Yeah.
In Washington's a winnable road game, I'd say. Oregon, not so much.
You got to win at home.
Yeah. The home now, Illinois comes to Lincoln. That is going to be a big one for Nebraska.
Yep.
Ohio State, Maryland. I mean, they have a schedule. The at Northwestern game, that's a game, and at Penn State, can they get one of those road games? At Penn State, she's pulling the schedule up here on the screen. At Penn State, at Northwestern, then Michigan and Lincoln. That's going to be not easy. Minnesota is a game you better win at home. Iowa's a game you better win at home.
Fred's got there's concerns. I mean, Fred has sold this team as what? A gritty, defensive-minded team. They were a top 15 defense going into Purdue. But these games, it's hard for me to buy that we're a gritty defensive team after Purdue lights you up, after Iowa lights you up. See, now there's some narratives that took a hit here. I don't brush them off I don't brush off a loss like this maybe as easily as other people.
Now, Michigan State is number 12 in the latest AP poll, and Purdue is number 17.
Okay.
So when you analyze their losses, those are two quality teams they've lost to.
I'd like to see Nebraska be a quality team. I mean, I'd like to see Nebraska be a top 20 team. You know?
Okay, this does kind of freak me out that Michigan State is the highest ranked team in the Big Ten this year at 12.
At 12.
And Oregon's at 13. So right now, the Big Ten is like going to get no better than 3 and 4 seeds in the NCAA. They're not going to have a one right now today. They wouldn't have a 1 or a 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the SEC is going to get 2 1 seeds. I mean, Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama, those are some good teams.
I still think Fred's team is a bubble team. And the good news with that is all these games are going to feel big. You know, pretty much every game is going to feel
My expectation is just get in the tournament. I don't care where it's in Dayton. I don't care where it's at.
Okay.
Get in the tournament.
But you have that expectation.
That's my goal for this team.
You'd be disappointed if they don't.
Based on how they've played at home, yes, I think they can win out at home, and they need to find at least 1 road win, if not 2. Just like last year, they figured it out late at Michigan and Indiana to win those road games. But all right, final headline before you Husker Online headlines number 5. Give us a try at HuskerOnline.com. If you're not a member, get your first 7 days of Husker Online for just $1. And give us a shot, give us a look. Great content, great time to join Husker Online. But headline 5, odds and ends. Sip, a lot of discussion about Mike Tomlin and the NFL. And Mike Tomlin, a lot of Steelers fans are kind of getting Mike Tomlin fatigue. Since 1969, the Pittsburgh Steelers have only had 3 head coaches ever. Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin being the previous 2. And he continues to win there. He does well. Would you be shocked if the Steelers parted ways with Mike Tomlin?
They're not going to move on. I think the reports are already coming out of Pittsburgh that he's safe. The reason why it's a discussion is because the Steelers have lost 6 consecutive playoff games under Mike Tomlin. That ties the Dolphins for the longest current playoff losing streak in the NFL. 6 consecutive L's in playoff games. They haven't won a playoff game in 8 years. In those 6 losses, the Steelers were outscored 143-47 in the first half. Okay, that means they trailed at halftime by an average score of 24-8. They were down 21-0 against the Ravens on Saturday night. And by the way, the Ravens had 308 yards at halftime. That's tracking for 600.
How good is that Buffalo-Baltimore game going to be?
It's going to be extraordinary. Now, staying with Tomlin, this was interesting to me. Now, again, he's safe, so I don't want to go too deep into this, but this will resonate with you because we've kind of had these kind of times at Nebraska. This is what Ray Fittipaldo of the Post-Gazette of Pittsburgh wrote. He said there was absolutely no excitement around Pittsburgh in the week leading up to the Baltimore game because the fans realized this team had no chance of competing after watching them bungle their way through the final month of the season. See, he asked this question. You can relate to this, Sean, because we've dealt with this sort of mindset. How much more can this fan base take before it checks out on this team in August?
Kind of sounds like the discussion that Ohio State fans had with Ryan Day. I mean, that Tennessee game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A lot of Ohio State fans refused to go.
They were checked out a little bit.
Because they were so mad about the Michigan defeat.
They were checked out a little bit.
And Ryan Day had to win despite his own stadium being almost half full of Tennessee fans.
You're right. Now, as far as Steelers fans go, I'm sure there's some watching right now rolling their eyes and saying, annual discussion. This has become sort of an annual discussion. And here's what I would tell you, Sean. If the Steelers got rid of Mike Tomlin, there would be no fewer than 10 NFL teams that would want to hire him. Right, like tomorrow, like the next day. I mean, he would be, if he wanted to coach next season, he'd be employed.
Yeah, like imagine him with the Cowboys.
How
How about
the Bears? How about the Bears?
How about
Fit?
And Marcus Freeman of the Bears, do you really think that's possible? Like that he would leave Notre Dame to go to the Bears?
I think it would be a bad move for him. Why?
I just steer clear of the Bears in general and Kevin Warren. I just don't have a lot of high thoughts about Kevin Warren thought that canceling football was the right thing to do in 2020. He nearly sabotaged the entire Big Ten.
Sean, this podcast has been largely defined by us agreeing way too much. I couldn't agree with you more on that. I just Warren almost made one of the worst decisions ever. I mean, very close to making one of the worst decisions.
And then he comes out and says, this decision will not be revisited. Well, guess what? A couple weeks later it was, and we were playing football.
He wasn't a leader. He wasn't a leader.
No.
He portrayed himself very well as a leader. He wasn't a real leader. That's it.
He lacked the alpha leader quality. And they tried to have Alvarez kind of be with him to help him. Remember those times? But there's a reason why Jim Harbaugh didn't even get an interview for the Bears job.
Why is that? Because
Kevin Warren, and behind the scenes, those conference calls that they did were heated.
So let me get this straight. The Bears didn't interview Jim Harbaugh.
And it was because Kevin Warren didn't like Jim Harbaugh.
You understand you could make a case right now that Jim Harbaugh is the best football coach in the world. Now, Andy Reid would probably hold that title. But okay, then let's put Harbaugh as the number 2 football coach in the world.
Yeah, look what he did in his first year.
Yeah. Would you say he's the number? Look what he's done everywhere he's went, including San Diego.
Think about what the Chiefs have done.
Not San Diego Chargers.
LA Chargers now.
No, I know. I'm talking about San Diego University. He won there.
Stanford.
Yeah.
Stanford was a joke before he got there.
Right.
They were the laughing stock of the Pac-12, Pac-10.
Whenever I work this out in my mind, I can't come up with number 3. Who's the 3rd best head football coach in the world? I don't know. But I know the top 2.
I'll tell you, Marcus Freeman's gaining that list.
Ooh, Freeman. Yeah, he's gaining ground fast.
And just the picture of him and his family and just everything about him's perfect, the way he operates. Marcus Freeman, 38 years old, has 6 children, beautiful kids and wife, and runs that program, at a high level. What he's done there. Brian Kelly ran from there.
Yep. He basically said you couldn't win a championship there. And 4 years later, 3 years later, whatever it is, Freeman has him on the cusp. Now, they're a heavy underdog. 7 points plus.
9.5, I think. It's over a tutty. That's an Andy Kendi word. Tutty.
Yeah, but no, he's done a remarkable job.
Right.
Would he take the Bears job? I would think not. What do you want to get into some wrestling?
Well, no, headline. I want to hit on Tom Allen real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Because this got my attention before the show. Clemson is on the verge of hiring Penn State defensive coordinator, former Indiana head coach Tom Allen. Wow. And that really caught my attention because it's either one of two things. Clemson has just come in with a ridiculous amount of money that Penn State's like, yeah, we're not going to give you that kind of raise. Or maybe Tom Allen sees things at Penn State where, you know what, maybe James Franklin doesn't feel as appreciated there and he's looking around.
Huh. That's curious.
I don't know. James Franklin got a lot of heat from his own fan base for losing it doesn't feel like he's being very appreciated at State College. James Franklin. Well,
he hasn't fared well against top 25, top 15 competition, top 10 competition. He hasn't I know where you're going with this. It's kind of interesting. You'd think maybe 2 wins in the playoffs would get you a lot of credence. Doesn't seem like it did. And part of the reason is they were better than Notre Dame, and a fan base recognizes it. You love Ty Warren, right?
Yeah.
Probably the best player on the field that game, right? Wouldn't you say?
The tight end for Penn State.
Tyler Warren. They have Abdul Carter. He might have been the best player on the field, played for Penn State.
And their offensive line.
Offensive line's good. They have 2 running backs that run for 1,000. Notre Dame didn't have that kind of talent, and they won. And Penn State fans recognize that. Penn State was better up front.
There were the 3 or 4 key situations that Penn State operated correctly, and Notre Dame operated correctly, and Penn State did not. And that was the difference because you're right. In the first half, it felt like Penn State was going to run away with that game.
Oh, they were better. They're better.
10-0 should have probably been about 20-0.
Right. So see, it's interesting. These discussions are fascinating because just that win against Penn State, or excuse me, just that win against Notre Dame gets him probably the credence that he arguably deserves. But you lose. You lost the game. You didn't beat the team that you were better than. You didn't get to the final. It's huge.
Did anybody, though, with a realistic head on their shoulders think that Penn State could win a national championship this year? I never looked at them as that.
I did. I started looking at them that way when I was watching the Notre Dame game. They're good.
I mean, they're front seven.
Oh, Sean, Abdul Carter and Ty Warren. Yeah, I started looking at them that way.
But then again, okay.
Well, Sean, I did look at him that way. That's the disappointment Penn State fans have.
Another thing that just hit my mind here. Think about the play where Tom Allen called an aggressive defensive call where his two DBs both fell down.
Yeah.
That lost him the game.
Yeah, you're right.
Did
his corner was playing press coverage.
Did that get ugly behind the scenes where he did that? Because was that the right call to make there?
Why was he playing press coverage there? I know it. Was it a 70+ yard touchdown pass? Is what you're talking about?
Two guys fell, and Penn State was up by 7. Correct?
Well, you definitely would question why the corner was playing press coverage in that situation. You would.
So maybe James Franklin's like, hey, you know what, Tom, you did a great job, but this
fire him over that.
Not fire him, but yeah, take this Clemson job. This would be a better deal. Get a fresh start. You did a lot here.
And it's definitely happening.
I think so. I mean, the Thamels and it's being worked on to be finalized. So,
God. Okay, then the one thing you wanted to hit on that we should hit on. Congratulations to Mark Manning, the Silver Fox, Nebraska's wrestling coach. Big congratulations. Got his 300th dual win against Minnesota.
Number 6 ranked Minnesota, and Nebraska came in number 9. And Nebraska is better than number 9 from what I've gathered. They had They had one bad duel this year. They got beat by Northern Iowa.
Okay.
So that dropped them down to 9. But they get the win over Minnesota, their first Big Ten duel. Now, Penn State, number 1 in the country, comes to Lincoln this weekend.
Penn State, which has won 11 of the last 13 national titles. Penn State will be favored in every match.
And that Devaney Center will be packed.
Yeah. Now, Nebraska will have to pull off a colossal upset to beat Penn State. Penn State hasn't, Sean, it's been a long time, and I have it here. My phone just went. It's been a long time since Penn State has lost a dual match. It's been, how about this? They haven't dropped a duel to anyone in 63 matches.
Yeah.
63 matches. So that no, Nebraska, though, you never know.
Well, and then this weekend, Minnesota
Stevenson
had Gable Stevenson on their team. And
you have a lot of intrigue in him.
Well, because he's the 2021 Olympic gold medalist in the heavyweight division. And he's a WWE wrestler. Yeah, he was a part of the Buffalo Bills roster.
Yeah, he tried to latch on with the Bills, got cut. He actually was released from the WWE. But yeah, he made a huge return.
But somehow he got a waiver to come back and wrestle this year.
And what were you talking about? Like he was signing autographs?
Yeah, he signed. I mean, he's Olympic gold medalist in that building there. They should have got him, Jim Hartog, and Pablo Morales together for a picture.
Hartog.
3 gold medalists.
Jim Hartog.
Hartog, yeah. What did I say?
Hartog.
I said Hartog. Could have got Pablo Morales, Jim Hartog, and Gable together. 3 gold medalists in the buildings. They all operate out of it. But Gable won his match easily at 19-4. And
Gable Stevenson.
He's not going to get beat all year.
No.
But just the simple.
Probably not.
I mean, if you're just a casual fan of wrestling, to go see a gold medalist wrestle in Devaney Center.
A heavyweight, too. It's a different world at heavyweight.
I mean, think about all the international guys he beat.
I want to go back to the Silver Fox, though.
Mark Manning.
Yeah. Got 300. He's been the head coach at Nebraska since the year 2000.
Since Tim Newman was pushed out.
Right.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah. Was there a coach between Newman and Manning?
No, Manning took over for Newman after
scandal. we don't need to get into that. Tim's a great guy. I love, and so is Mark. I had a great fortune of covering Tim Newman. And he's a tremendous guy, but man, he's done a hell of a job. I mean, he's held a job for 24 years. I mean, that's in coaching. You take a job knowing you're going to get fired at some point, but he's kept them on solid.
And he's got Brian Snyder kind of
Snyder's the man
as his lead assistant.
I covered Snyder. You'd be interested in this. You know what, Snyder, when I think it was his senior years going for the national title, and he did a media blackout. He stopped talking to the media. And I wrote a column that supported it, and a lot of my media brethren didn't like that column. But I thought it was a good idea. He just said, I don't want to get distracted.
He was a student when I was a student, and I just remember the rec center had the saunas in there.
Was he always in there?
And every time I'd go work out and, lift and use the locker room, he'd be in the sauna.
Snyder was a legend.
I would imagine he's the successor to Manning someday.
I would think he'd be
in the conversation.
Oh yeah. Maybe number one in the conversation, depending on what you could get. But yeah, I would think Brian would be right there.
But great win for Mark Manning.
The Silver Fox.
They're going to get a big time opponent though in Penn State this Saturday, and let's see how they handle them. And then finally, one quick thing, early title game discussion. We both kind of are on the same page. Ohio State should win this game. You think of what they did against Texas without Jeremiah Smith even being an impact player.
He had one catch for 3 yards, Jeremiah Smith. Here's the thing. I hate to say I called it, but I'm really obnoxious, Sean. Texas couldn't run it. They ran 29 times for 57. 29 times for 57. And what happened inside the 5? What happens inside the 5 if you can't run? It's trouble, especially against Ohio State.
You try to run cute little gadget toss plays out of the shotgun.
What is Sark? Sark is a great play caller.
How about you just run 3 QB sneaks?
They got to the 1. And then they went backwards. And then on 4th down and goal, Jack Sawyer rips around number 56 like he's not there and gets the strip sack touchdown, 83-yard strip sack touchdown. Watch that play. Hey, guys get beat, but 56 is going to have a hard time living that down. I think his name is Cameron Williams.
I mean, it was a bad of a beat in that situation, especially.
It reminded me of Ben Hart getting beat at Iowa. That's what it reminded me of. It happens.
It
happens.
Sawyer is at a different level, though.
He's pretty good.
Think about what his last month was like, losing to Michigan and then taking that Michigan flag and ripping it from those Michigan players, and just how ugly that scene was to solidifying
himself
as a legend
and making one of the 3 or 4 most iconic plays in Ohio State football history. Amazing.
You could run that play 100 times and that might only happen once.
Right. Exactly.
I'm serious.
Right. The ball bounced
to have it bounce, to have him run, to have the players shield it off where nobody could run him down. Right. I mean, that doesn't happen very often.
Well, amazing play. And Ohio State, they're obviously, you're saying 9-point favorite plus. I could see that. I just don't know how. I'll tell you one thing. Notre Dame would have no chance at all if Riley Leonard couldn't run the ball. He can run it a little bit. I think he ran for 800 plus yards this year. Okay. Riley Leonard's ability to run will move the chains at times. I just don't know how Notre Dame's going to. They're going to have a hard time scoring. Like, they're not going to have a lot of long drives.
And Will Howard can run when he needs to. He had a huge. And I know a lot of people like, oh, they were better last year with McCord. Well, McCord couldn't get those runs.
Would they have been better with McCord, do you think?
I don't think. I mean, I think the running Chip Kelly is just like Scott Frost with his offense, and you need the quarterback to be able to get those 8-yard runs.
McCord
is not a runner at all.
I watched him for Syracuse. He can scramble a little better than I thought. I think it's a legit question. McCord had a big year,
but to play in that Chip Kelly, Scott Frost system, when it's 3rd and 7 and you recognize everyone's dropped in the coverage, you have to be able to outrun the angle of the linebacker and get the 7 yards.
You know what, Sean? I think these discussions are, if I'm Dylan Raiola, I'm watching these guys and I'm thinking, I got to run. I got to be able to run.
When they're dropping 7 or 8 and not blitzing you,
take off.
You got to run. You got to take the lane.
Yeah, I think you'll see Dylan. I think, am I wrong? I think Dylan will do that more this coming year. Do you think so?
I think he has to. And we saw in the bowl game the few times he did it, how big it was.
Well, last drive of the game. He didn't get a lot of yards, but he tucked it twice and got critical gains.
All right. Well, fun Monday show. Sip, have fun in Oklahoma City.
Oh, I will. We eat good and the kids are funny.
You're going to go to Toby Keith's?
That's not a bad idea, actually. It's not. We're right over there. That's where we're staying. And
isn't there a big Bass Pro Shop over there too?
I ain't going to Bass Pro Shop, but the thing I enjoy the most, honestly, Sean, is going to the game super early. The kid drives the kids crazy. We'll be like the first ones in the door. I just like watching warm-ups and the whole scene, because I don't get to see a lot of NBA.
When we went to the Chiefs game, like that's what we did. We went right when the doors of Arrowhead opened. We went in.
You want to take in everything.
One, we didn't bring tailgate. We didn't have this of my family, so we're not going to set up a tailgate party. So we just went in the stadium and hung out and
tailgate with people.
Well, we were by ourselves.
You could find some people.
Yeah, I'm sure that with the kids and
yeah, and I don't think you tailgate at NBA games.
No.
So anyway, we'll go early and it'll be super fun. I'll report to you.
All right. Well, have fun, Sip.
Thanks for letting me go, Sean.
Hey,
It'll be fun.
I didn't say you could never go. You can do whatever you want.
I can't do whatever I want. It's not a perfect time, but it's not a terrible time.
We'll be back Wednesday.
Yeah, you got to keep your eye on the portal.
Robin Washut,
Sean,
Abby
I can't
Barmore.
do everything.
We'll be back Wednesday. And Robin will also be sitting in on Friday for headlines. So thanks for joining us. See you later this week on Wednesday.